My favorite quote about Pakistan is that everyone wants a revolution, but nobody wants to do the dishes. And I think somehow I've signed up to do the dishes, which I did for 7 years in Government of Punjab, a few months in the federal government. This is tedious, thankless, painstaking reforms. And at times they can take years to do, and at times they can only take months to undo also. But I think that's how we're going to finally make progress in this country and deliver this country to the generation that this country belongs to, young people. This position has been offered to me at least 5 times, and I've said no 5 times. A couple of times very awkwardly, because it was offered to me with sincerity, it was offered to me by friends, and was offered to me by people who I thought were genuinely interested in fixing things. But I didn't think that the environment was conducive for someone like me to come in and do what I do, which is to disrupt things, to change things, to fix things, do painful reforms, painful for the system. If you're trying to digitize the Patwari system, if you're trying to digitize thanas, if you're trying to digitize the way we collect taxes, these are painful reforms. And of course, they're going to have a lot of friction and resistance within the system. So for that to happen, there needs to be an environment in place. Everyone, by the way, told me that it is not possible. Everyone I spoke to discouraged me. I can't think of a single person who would have encouraged me, including my mom. And everyone said, do not do this. You will regret this. You won't be able to do anything at all. This will be a blot on your career. Still, I wanted to get this out of my system. So more than anything else, I wanted to really come in and see whether I am able to do this or not, and whether it is as impossible, difficult as people say it is. And I'm happy to report that it is not. I've always said when I used to work in Government of Punjab that I do not find it hard to do these reforms and this work in the government. I've just about completed every major initiative that we took on. Same in the federal government. I came in, I wrote on a piece of paper 14 things that I wanted to do. I put it on a slide, brought in several folks in my ministry and said, this is my agenda, 14 things. We have the Special Investment Facilitation Council, SIFC. We're going to make this agenda their agenda for the next 5 months. We're going to run as fast as we can and try and see if we could complete this. There is absolute understanding and a degree of urgency, almost a degree of panic within all stakeholders of the government to try and fix this. Everyone understands this is not tenable. More of this will not get us anywhere. We need deep, profound, sustainable reforms in every sector in the government. There are some key sectors that we've not developed over the years. For instance, the Special Investment Facilitation Council, SIFC, where all the stakeholders come together, has identified 3 key areas for themselves: agriculture, mining, and IT. And that's what eventually convinced me. Someone sat me down and said, these are the 3 areas that we believe can save the economy, can save this country. We really want top-class people to come in and help us put all of this together, put together a roadmap that we can then pursue for years to come. Now, the good thing about IT is that it has a trade surplus built into it. Pakistan's economy's Achilles heel right now is this vicious boom and bust cycle, where if you want to increase production in this country, you need to import a lot of raw materials. So you see some uptick in exports, but that's necessarily linked to imports of raw materials. So therefore, you always have a trade imbalance, and that's eventually what becomes worrying and eventually brings the economy to a screeching halt. That's the boom and bust cycle of Pakistan. Now, in this, IT is a unique sector where to be able to export software or IT services, you don't need to really import much. You have the raw material in this country, which is young, educated, IT savvy people. And if you can equip them to become globally competitive, to work in companies or on freelancing platforms or in call centers or startups, and are able to export their services, expertise, and products globally, that sector has a huge trade surplus built in, 70 to 80%. So that's unique. And I think that therefore holds the key to turning this economy around in the next 5 to 10 years. Because you have the raw material here, if you upskill them, you make them globally competitive, and they're able to become part of this global knowledge economy, IT workforce, this global gig economy. I think that's what would eventually turn this country around. Our total exports right now are $39-40 billion. Just by making the freelancers more productive, you could increase that by another $10 billion. Just by getting your IT workforce skilled and your IT companies really operating at the pace that they could, you could add another $10 to $20 billion. You could really double your exports in this country without increasing your import bill by just concentrating on the IT sector. And that's why I took up this job. And for the last 5 months, all of my efforts have been focused entirely on trying to improve our export potential of IT products, services, and freelancers that we have in Pakistan. Given a number of choices of various paths you could take the one that's most painful. That can't go wrong. So seek pain. As a young, rising professional, seek pain. Because that's how you're going to develop most, that's how you're going to progress most. So that's a safe bet. Of the options given to you, choose the most painful one. 2, and this is a Richard Feynman's quote, the first principle is not to fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. You're telling yourself it's going to be all right, I'm doing fine, and so on, is the easiest thing to do in the world. So you have to hold yourself to very high standards. Your ego is your reputation that you earn with yourself. So you have to really hold yourself to very high standards. Be honest with yourself, seek pain, and don't give up. It's of course easier said than done, but essentially if you just followed these 3 principles, seek pain, always be honest with yourself, and don't give up, you can't fail.